Hello, hello. Thank you, Bo. All right. Hello, everyone. I'll start with a bit interactive. So everyone, raise your hands if you've ever had a paper ticket given to you when turning in your belongings at an event. I thought so. Now, how many of you, raise your hands if you've taken a photo of it as a security in case you would lose it? All right. Now, raise your hands if you ever left early from an event to avoid the queue in the wardrobe. All right. I can sense that these are some actions that we've all are doing today. Now, my name is Karla, and I'm the CEO and founder of Keep It, which is an innovative solution that does an alternative to the paper tickets and brings a digital wardrobe solutions for venues. So we're taking this very ordinary, mundane problem of the paper tickets and finding a solution that today showcases faster queues, valuable data insights, and business opportunities for the venues, and also makes guest experiences even better. Now, some of you might be thinking, what on earth does a wardrobe and paper ticket have to do with today's kind of conference? Now, I'm going to bring you today, as Bo also so kindly shared, what my founder journey has brought for going to the idea to actual execution. And I will share it with you going through these 3 pillars to build what works. Starting with how to spot a problem that's worth solving, then going to the next phase of building and testing it fast, and then go to the execution phase and which circumstances that are important to look into to increase the likelihood of success. All right, so starting with the first pillar, starting with how did I actually get the idea? Now, for my sake, it all started with a colleague of mine coming into office, expressing his huge frustration of his favorite jacket getting stolen in the wardrobe. And he expressed further the frustrations of all the time you've lost the ticket and waited in queues. And suddenly, from that moment, I realized, why do we still have these paper tickets? I was like, there must, at some point in future, since it's based on paper, I know there has to be a new solution. So I said to him, I want to find the future solution to this wardrobe process. And I talked to multiple people, and as I had this idea inside, I noticed that whether you were plus 50s after a company event or conference, or whether you were in the 30s after a concert or in the 20s after a nightclub, people each week talked about the wardrobe and complained about it to their friends, to their families. And I was going inside myself with this idea, like they don't even know that I'm actually wanting to innovate upon it. But I just noticed that people not only said that they took photos of it, but also explained how they went early from concerts, even though it was their favorite song playing, just to avoid the queue. Even people telling me that they took a taxi in the first place without a jacket, just to avoid the queue at all. Now, these are all actions that people are making today to avoid the wardrobe. Now, what I then realized when going into research is that this is actually a process we've had since the 18th century, and yet we still have it today in 2026 as the most ordinary process. Now, I deep dived in, and knowing now mostly about the guest, I was looking into what is it for the venues, for the wardrobe employees, for the venue managers. And there I discovered there's even more problems. Because yes, we can wait in a queue, yes, we can take a photo, but what I discovered after hundreds of hours of interviews and surveys and observations, yet even trying to be a wardrobe employee myself, there's a whole more to it than we actually know about. There's so many inefficiencies and manual processes. Employees every day have to take up and prepare the new paper tickets. Employees actually spending time waiting on the guests, who suddenly just thought that they had the paper ticket ready in their pocket, yet they didn't. And then it has to take time looking at it. In short, they can save a whole lot of labor costs, a whole lot of time spent on tasks that are redundant today. And what I knew about is that there are actually, for the venue managers, no data of whatsoever when it comes to staffing. They don't know how many they're actually going by. So I saw that this is actually a problem worth solving, because now I went through all stakeholders in the journey. So to kind of sum it up, what I would want to share to you, some concrete techniques for you to even take on with you from Monday on, is that questioning what you do today. Try to listen not only to the loud complaints, but also to the silent ones. You know, the ones that doesn't necessarily reach management, but happens across the coffee to the colleague or to the family member. Because also looking into the behavior, are they doing things to avoid the actual problem? And then ensure to speak to everyone in the chain. So not only for my sake, the guests, but also the employee and the venue managers. Because these small silences can actually potentially reveal a problem that can lead to you some great business opportunities. Now, going into the second pillar of what I would say, is now going into the building and the testing. So now I knew this is something I want to build. How do I do that? Well, before I actually go in, I'm going to go back a bit. Before I'm going to deep dive in what is the problem or the product we have today, then how did I go about? So the journey of the product is much about listening to the users. And what we have today, since I started 3 years ago in 2023, is one where instead of the thousands of paper tickets that you as guests have, then you imagine that you have and make your personal wardrobe ticket once in life, and you can reuse the same wardrobe ticket everywhere with our system. And no, some of you, it's not an app. Some of you might be thinking that from the get-go, like, oh, it's an app, I'm going to download. Nope, it's not. That's based on my research. It's very, very simple. It's a link to our website. You as guests type in your phone number, and there you have it, your key pass. You can have it from your website, but you can add it to your digital wallet. From now on, when you come to the counter, you just show it and give your belongings and leave straight away. Imagining it as a permanent boarding pass for all flights. Now, we also developed this year the opportunity for you as guests to connect a payment method. That enables us and enables guests to check in and pay in 3 seconds. What we see based on the solutions for the employees is that they easily have a smartphone where they scan the guest key pass, say hello and goodbye straight away, scan the hanger that they're putting the jacket on, and then it's good to go. But what it is for venue managers is that we saw they have suddenly valuable data insights. They can see when people come and go, then have lost and found solutions, performance statistics, and I don't want to bore you with features. But in short, by taking such a mundane problem of the paper ticket and digitalizing it, you suddenly see that we today save them time. Our solutions bring 71% faster queues compared to the paper ticket, as well as them saving money from the staffing, and also giving them business opportunities, because you suddenly have an outreach channel, and you suddenly have some data that you didn't have before. So what I want to bring you today is that also product today is having above 70,000 of guest users having the key pass to reuse everywhere. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh, it's a one-time QR code, this key pass. That's quite simple to make, isn't it? Now, there's a whole lot of long hours and work behind it. And I've been product developing and having 5 iterations previously to bring where we are today. However, I could confidently say that we have the product that is today built by the users for the users. So it's so important to always, this has been my product journey, where I've taken all the learnings of starting with the first one in September 23, where I suddenly discovered, wait, we couldn't actually accommodate guests without a smartphone. Oh, we have to go back and find a new solution. Then we suddenly had an idea, a tablet version, but then we didn't. Then it was not so well with the logistics because it couldn't suit small setups. Now, what is very important is that you have to be so fast as building just the first version of a product and put it in the hands of the users to get the feedback straight away. Because you don't want to risk actually spending time. Now, this is actually also what some of the iterations from my tablet as well. And it's so important to put it in the hands of the actual users and get the feedback. So this is the iteration loop that I've been following, building a product just a little bit. So you start small, and then put it in the hands of the users to test, and then you have to iterate. Because you don't want to spend 2 years' time on something that will bring you back the wrong things. So what I want to say is that failing is not negative, and it's not to be seen as reckless. It's actually a way to bring you cheap learning, because the most expensive failures are the ones that take you 3 years to admit. Building up a big product, a big team, and then you're in the office 2 years' time, and then suddenly you realize, oh, that's the wrong thing. So ensure to be starting very, very small. And as you could say, don't build a cathedral before you've tested a tent. Now, these are some of the sum-ups of when building something, and also something within your company as well, is that, as well, put it in the hands of the users, make just a little small iteration, ensure not to be inside the office, but in the world, by gathering some pilot venues and pilot customers, but also someone that you didn't expect necessarily to be a long-term customer. Because you don't want to you need to be taking risk, but you don't want to risk losing the biggest client. And then you need to take the learning, because the learnings are what brings you the insights. And failures are really needed when coming to innovation. Going into the third pillar, I'm going to be sharing, is how to create the best conditions for successfully executing an idea. And because alongside this journey of all the product development, I, meanwhile, parallelly have to gain what we call traction. Now, traction is, as you could say, the real-life proof that the product or service is more than just a concept and can attract customers and generate profits. Now, in my end, having such a disruptive product, it's very important to create awareness amongst people, but also to gain letters of intent. So I was speaking out, I was calling to a lot of venue managers, having these meetings, and getting them to actually say, yes, when the product is finished and developed, then I want to buy it. Now, it wasn't necessarily easy, because it was such a disruptive product, and I didn't actually know what my end product would be on my journey. So what I had to do as well, meanwhile, is creating this awareness and gaining some traction in other ways, being open about my journey and how I saw that actual people validated the problem, because being on multiple articles as well, but also saying that this is actually something we see wanting to be improved upon. And all the previous testing and all of 300 hours and all the previous interviews have been contributing to this success of gaining this traction. And this is something I'm very happy to have been doing, because you don't want to be completely silent until you have the product ready. So you need to be doing this parallelly. And I also, along my way, had applied for a lot of prizes and grants to gain what we'd call soft funding, which is where you get free money and then you don't need to leave up any equity. Because what my journey has been is that I want to be trying to start very small and gain just small fundings before, and wait as long as possible before I get external funding and equity giving up. And along my journey, we got 6 prizes and grants in parallel with the product development, which totaled around 640,000. And now some might also have noticed that we also were partaking in the Løvens Hule, or the Danish Shark Tank, where we got an additional of 250,000. Now, what is very important is that if I, from the very get-go, because some of you might be thinking that you need big funding in order to just even begin. Now, if that was the case, that I came in and got a lot of money from the very start, then I would have risked wasting it on all these previous iterations. Gaining just a little bit to keep going and just get the few products. It's leaving you with not losing more money and have a too big of budget unnecessarily in the very beginning. I'm going to go back. So alongside this journey, there's something that's very important as well, and that is the people. Now, you can't innovate and you can't execute without getting the right people to help along the way. Now, for my case, I've been also having an ordinary journey upon that, because I had to part ways with my first tech partner and have actually been solo for quite a time during my journey. However, during my journey as a solo founder, I was very privileged to gain help from interns coming in with extra skill sets that I didn't have, which helped me to move faster, whether it was with UI UX design or if it was with marketing. And I also was fortunate to get a software employee to be a part that I could pay with subsidy from the state to just get the product to the next phase. Meanwhile, I've been searching for my tech partner, the long-term one, because that is needed when coming into a partner. Now, some also said, like, how do you get people to join you and help you and contribute without any salary? And I was like, that's a good question. So I actually asked some of them, like, why? Because I'm so fortunate and so happy, because I can't do everything ourselves. None of us can do everything ourselves, but each of us can do a little, but together we can. So it's about collecting the different skill sets. Now, I was also completely transparent with them how I myself have been quitting my job and living on oats, not having salary for a long time. Also finishing my bachelor's meanwhile at CBS, and also continuing the master's. And it's been tough. There was also it's been lonely, and there's also been times where I've been at a venue, having a product up, being tested, being the tech support myself, growing from DTU straight away to the venue from 6 a.m. till 2 a.m. every day. But I realized I need to stop and pause. I need the right people during my journey. So I can fortunately say that I have my tech partners and my long-term partners, Laura and Andre, with me now, which are bringing me some very, very valuable skill sets that I wouldn't out at all. Now, to sum it up also, when it comes to pillar 3 of gaining this traction, is that while you be product developing and having all this product inside the hands of users, get the traction. Ensure also to take risks. And with risks, I mean, when you have the product, be able to get these letters of intent from customers. Be able to close the product and the sale, even when the product is not done. I also had a moment, to put a story upon that, where my tech partner, Andre, he quit his job in Norway and moved to Copenhagen last year to join me on this journey. And at that given time, when he came to Denmark, he had 2.5 months to build a completely new product, because I had a big event and a big partner event to get ready to. Now that's where you have to keep your head very cool. And but that's very important to do it, because it's been very important and had a very high impact on our journey so far. But it is about also collecting, of course, the right team with the different skill sets. So be seeking those when you're about to be innovating and do so. Now, when it comes to innovation, it all starts with actually just reflecting and questioning, why do you do what you do today? I'm wondering if that's anything that, if you ever done that, but maybe from Monday on, questioning the status quo. Because there might be actually a hidden opportunity right in front of you. Like the small accepted problems today, but that would actually release real value when you fix them. Whether it's in your company and your work processes, you suddenly do something that takes maybe 10 steps. Why is that? Could it be that you can minimize it to 7 steps? there is something behind those. And just to sum it up, the 3 pillars on how to build what works is when spotting the problem, is that, once again, listening to the people around you. Listen and notice which behaviors they're doing to avoid it. Is there one of your customers, are they actually using an external software to help them with something regarding your service? Are they actually having anyone helping them to, in the first place, get an insurance? Are these hidden actions something that you can incorporate in your company to increase the business opportunity and the value to your customers? When it comes to then building and testing, who's to say to have a huge budget and a big team? How about starting maybe small? Once a week, two times a week, a person coming in, listening to the users, taking all the interviews, observing, talking to all stakeholders on the journey, trying to build the very first iteration that's very small, the little tent, not the cathedral, and then iterate. So you don't spend 2 years' time on a huge budget on something that could be in a very, very small scales. And then, of course, when it comes into executing a product on the actual market, is that meanwhile product developing, utilize that time to gain the traction, talking to the customers, getting them to close the deals prior to, and collect the team and ensure the team has the right skill sets. I would have wished today that I found my team early on. I am not going to be completely honest that in the midst of the speed that it has been the past 3 years when having the first product in September 2023, I would have wished that I actually stopped up and reflected. What is actually the next iteration that I'm building? Is it really the right one? Does it take as long time as it would be for my dream solution? And I would have wished that I stopped and actually collected the team from the very get-go. So it's very important to also be having that. And now, it's there, when it coming to this story as well, is that what I want to share with you is that the next big opportunity might look very, very small and very hidden, yet it could bring you some very massive business value. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Karla. What a story. I love that story. Incredible. So we have time for some questions. So if there's any questions from anybody in the room, you want to ask Karla about innovation, ideas? If not, I, of course, always have some questions I can ask you. So one question about the innovations and getting ideas. So now you have this one that is rolled out. So what are you thinking about, enhancing what you already have? Or are you thinking about totally new ideas that will change the world? Or where are you right now?
My brain's always constantly innovating and actually having the product roadmap that my tech partner is going to be having work for many, 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 many years.
Okay.
Because it is very, very simple QR code that now we're going very niche into the wardrobe as a wardrobe ticket. Yet we see big opportunities to expand across, whether it's ticketing, whether it's in the hotel segment of the hotel door keys, luggage handling. Yeah, and there's a lot of ways to it, and we also have lockers in our minds. So my product roadmap is very, very long.
Okay. So we'll just wait and see what will happen.
Yes, wait and see.
So at any point in this journey, any point, and now we have, an honest and open conversation just between you and I. Did you ever think about, I want to give up, this is not for me. I want to go back and, get the salary and the luxury of having a, stable job and all that?
Never,
Ever?
actually.
No?
Never. But it's not to say that it hasn't been really, really tough and very hard. I've had moments because each of these iterations is to be seen as failure in some way, or I had to go back and be like, whoa, I need to do a completely new product. So it's been like starting from scratch each time, and especially also when it comes to the team, that I had to let go and suddenly be completely alone and being non-technical, having to then build a 70 pages product description that I can give to my future tech partner or tech employee to help me. And at that given moment, I did think about, whoa, this is very, very tough. But based on all the thorough research and the interviews and the observations with guests and employees and the venue managers, as well as seeing this traction from people on the outside saying, whoa, why didn't I think about that? I wish I was the idea who got that. And it's such a hassle. Thank you for doing so. Like all those conversations feeds me to knowing that this will bring value. And I just feeds to my vision of transforming a process that's currently from the 18th century, but into one that brings value not only for the guests, but for the employees, for the venue managers, and for the earth. So that's been kind of my motivation alongside the entire journey. I've been very fortunate with the support system. But it also, when it came to the employees, even hearing the employees were crying in the wardrobe, having anxiety attacks because of the pressure, because of the discussions with guests. And those are some things that I did not have any idea of when coming from a guest viewpoint. So these are all feeding my motivation. Yeah.
Thank you so much for telling your story, Karla. Keep it. Definitely want to watch. Thank you.